I am an emeritus professor of KOMY University of Korea. I'm former president of Association of Korea Trade Research Association. But now I am advisor of KOMY Korea Myanmar Research Association. Also, I'm former Dean of Graduate School of KOMY University. I'd like to give and share our experience of Korean trade and its sources of competitiveness. And I hope that my presentation can give some idea for Myanmar economic growth and development in your future. Yes, I'm very happy to be here and to say Myanmar language, one phrase, mingle love. Thank you so much. I want to start my presentation. My presentation consists of 3 parts. First, choice of Korea for development. Second, experience of Korea in development. Third, sources of export competitiveness in Korea. And first, choice of Korea for development. What did Korea choose to develop economy? You know, Korea located Northeast Asia. Our area is 99,720 square kilometer. Our country is very small, that 1/6 of Myanmar. Our capital is Seoul, and we have 4 seasons. Population 5.6 million. Population. Small country, ruined by Korean War, no natural resources. We don't have any natural resources. But now, Korea is the top 11 economy of the world of total GNP and top 8 trading countries of the world. I hope that Myanmar can be developed countries in your future. I think so. Okay. The choice of South Korea to develop supply side, no natural resources, no capital, no technology, no skilled labor. We have only many unskilled labor at the time. Demand side, no domestic market. And we don't use any effective factors of production and domestic market. The environment was a kind of ruined land. So we couldn't see any hope. But Korea located, look at the world, not Korea. Korea chose export.
So if like we get some kind of investment or some kind of grant from outside, we use that as we invest that money to the export industry, not for the consumer goods, only for the export. So the industry restructuring policy. So in the 1950, 1960, we are heavily dependent on light industry. The government think that with the light industry, we cannot go forward. We cannot compete like outside competition. So government decided to move to light industry to the heavy industry. So government tried to invest really bring money to the heavy industry, heavy and chemical industry like iron and steel, electronics, petrochemical, and the shipbuilding, machinery. That is one factor. So at that time, there was some of the big company we call Jebel. Is come out in this time. And then first is rural development policy, the Semal movement. We call the Semal Undong, so it's kind of popular in the world. It's a Semal Undong, Semal movement. This is improving living standard of rural area and then reduce the income gap between rural and urban. Deputism mental remodeling movement, I call the deputism mental remodeling movement. So Semal Undong brings some spirit. Korean can do. Korean can do is we can do everything, anything. We don't, even though we don't have, we can do anything. We can do anything. It's a kind of spirit of Korean. It's from the Semal movement. That's very important. Because in Korea, I'm double income family. My wife also teacher. So me and my wife as a salary, so we call the double income family. We are not very great rich, but kind of rich. And then we invest a lot of money for education of our children, especially elder son. But his grading is not very good. Why? Because of he has no will to study, no strong will. That is a problem. That is really a problem. So that means even though many things you have, but if you don't have any will, it's not able to go forward. So you have to have a strong will. Strong will. Myanmar can do, right? Yeah. So Semal movement is like government support, no material only, and so like cement or steel, something like that. Also village people can work together, they build their home, they build the road and then infrastructure, everything by their own. Not government support. So you can see the Semal movement effect. This one is like a very traditional bridge, become very new. And this one is, I don't know, something like we don't have any bridge at all, but have a very nice bridge. So with the Semal movement, the government invests little, but effect is really great because the government change people's mind. That is one factor.
젠노남의 재영준 박. That's the what I can speak in Myanmar. And my name is Youngjun Choi, and I'm a professor of the Gyeonggi University, and also chair of the Gyeonggi University Myanmar Research Center, also the vice chair of the KOMY. I'm very happy to be here to give my presentation about the trade issues on the Myanmar and Korea. So I just try to make a short presentation, and then I'd like to share the talk with some issues. Okay, this is the content I will proceed. The first of all, I try to show the trade status of the Myanmar, and from the trade status of Myanmar, I try to drive the challenge of the Myanmar trade, and then I will give us some the advice or some the solution for the challenges the Myanmar facing, and the last one is the promoting trade between Korea and Myanmar. Okay? Trade status of Myanmar. Actually, the after opening the economy, Myanmar's volume of trade has been increasing. Okay? So in 2011, so it was the export is just it was $1 million, the 8 billion in export, and import is just 6 billion. So in 2010, 11, and 11, 12, the Myanmar had the positive the trade balance, and then as the opening economy is proceed, and then the export has been increasing sharply, but the import the increase the more sharply than the export. So from the 2012, so Myanmar had the trade deficit, so negative trade balances. So now, as you remember the presentation of the professor, so there are 4 the quadrant. Actually, before the 2012, the Myanmar was in the 4th quadrant. So positive surplus, and then the rate of growth of export is smaller than the growth rate of the import. So the growth rate of import is greater than the export growth rate. So it moved to the 3rd quadrant. So it kind of held. So that position is the starting point of the Korea. So now your growth rate of the export is smaller than the import, because your country has more demand to invest and to consume for your life. So this is the status of the Myanmar trade. And also, I'd like to introduce show some structure of the trade, the perspective of the market. The market structure of the trade of the Myanmar. Actually, the top 10 exporting partner countries take the share of about 90% of the total export. It means that only the 10 countries are the major country, the partner country for the export. Okay, so and then also the import is very similar. So only in the top 10 countries take more than 90% of the whole the amount of the import. Okay, so the structure of the market structure of the Myanmar trade has very limited partner countries. Okay? Even though your country is open to the world economy, but you trade only a few countries. So it is very similar. So we have a class, the 15 or the 100 classes, but you have only friends 10 or 5. Okay? It's very similar cases. So And especially the Myanmar trade depends on China. And some neighboring countries. Actually, in China's share of the export in 2012, it was 14%. But after opening your economy in 2014, it became 63% of the total export. Okay? So after opening your economy, then you trade more with China. Okay? So China more penetrates your economy, and your economy becomes more depending on the China. Okay? And the China share of the import has also the import. In 2012 it was 36. It became the 42.7 in 2014. And also the partner countries are located near the neighboring countries like China, Thailand, India, and Japan, Malaysia. Okay, so the Myanmar is trading with only the neighboring countries. Okay, yeah. So that's the status. And the Korea is the top rank, fifth ranked in the export and import. So the Korea takes share the 2.3% of the export and 0.6% of the import. So even though the Korea and the Japan, the Japan and the Korea are in the top 10 trading country in the world, but it was just 5 and take only the less than 5% of the U.S. trade. Okay? And this shows the product structure of the Myanmar trade. So before your country export mostly on the primary good, like the agriculture product, mining product, and the fishing, the living animals. Okay, and then after opening, your country fortunately moved from primary product to manufactured product, even though it is the low level of the processing product. So it was in 2012 the largest share of the industry is that mineral oil and so forth. Okay, but it became just 20%. And in 2012, the machine and the manufactured raw material, such as cork, the wood, and other some kind of the textile. And so it was 4.6. It became the 50%. So after opening your economy, so your economy is growing by the growing of the manufacturing sectors. So it is very good. Yeah, okay. And import is very similar, but your country, the Myanmar, is demanding the more machine and vehicles. The machine and vehicles take the largest share of the import. I think that this is the usual, ordinary, the characteristic of the developing countries. In order to produce, you need not only the
big data, and how Myanmar has regarding big data, the situation of Myanmar, and then how data mining techniques can solve some of big data issues. So the big data I will discuss is the SDG data at the national level. That is the Sustainable Development Goals at the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal. for the 15 years period up to 2030. So before that previous 15 years, the same one, we call it Millennium Development Goal. And indicators in MDG category, there are 8 goals and 60 indicators. Poverty related, 1 goal, 9 indicators. Education, 1 goal, 3 indicators. Health, 3 goal, 19 indicators. And gender, 1 goal, 3 indicator. Environmental, 1 indicator. 1 goal, 3, 10 indicators. And the global partnership, 1 goal and 16 indicators. So, in fact, the other poverty, education, health, gender, environment. In the MDG goals and indicator, health goal has 3 goals. So it is dominant in the last MDG goal. Global partnership, mainly administrative data on ODA, market access, debt, sustainability, essential drug, access and IT. So one thing that I would like to point out regarding MDG goals and indicator is in that setup, there is no indicator for monitoring MDG indicators. So, because of the low number of goals with health, 3 goals, the solution of getting the indicator value is because of Myanmar situation, which I will discuss very briefly just now. The only feasible approach is at that time, 1990. So that one has conduct integrated survey, big survey, and then get as many as indicator for MDG goal. The remaining indicator we'll try to get from the official statistics system. But things has changed in just released Sustainable Development Goals. SDG goal has 17 goals. And then there is a whopping 240 indicators. Poverty, goal 1, 2 goal, 26 indicators. Education, 1 goal, 11 indicators. Health, 2 goal 3, goal 6, 37 indicators. Gender, 1 goal, 14 indicators. Economics, the largest number of goals, 7, 8, 9, and 12 goals. And there are 48 indicators. Environmental and climate change, environmental sustainability, 4 goals and 46 indicators. And then inequality between countries, 1 goal, 11 indicator. Justice or rule of law, 1 goal, 22 indicator. And there is additional goal not included in MDG, that is implementation, 1 goal and 15 indicator. SDG goals are more comprehensive, as we have just discussed, than MDG, because the aim is to achieve sustainability. SDG goals and indicators are more general nature, and it didn't give you any quantitative target specified. There are two indicators for monitoring and accountability in Goal 17. That is capacity building support for high quality, timely and reliable data. By 2020 to LDC SIG. But the constraint is you must have a country-led national component for accountability. UN system will be available for attaching target value to develop indicator last year, but it hasn't finished completely. UN Statistical Commission will develop a program of action on table. Our country statistical system, we'll discuss very briefly. GDP figure as a core of national and regional socio-economic development measure. Myanmar GDP calculation based on 1968 SNA, not SNA 1993 or 2008, which most countries in ESCAP country are using. So we may be the only country using 96 SNA. Regarding the level of the Myanmar statistical system, out of the 6 milestones for full SNA implementing, Myanmar is at the low end of milestone 1, so very low system. Need to satisfy milestone 2. So if you want to advance a little to capture, to get all the SDG indicators, then we need to at least go to milestone 2. That is milestone 1 plus balance of payments statistics.